And now, live from Level 5 Productions on the island of Milleronia, it's The Larry Miller Show. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and everyone who wants to run for office. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Larry Miller Show. I'm Larry Miller, but in a way, aren't we all? And it's gorgeous here right now. Jeff and I are back on the mainland, and there's a good reason for that. But, you know, it's just, I miss Milleronia whenever we're not there. True, everyone is more or less a slave to me, but that's not why I miss it. Okay, it is. But it's a terrific place, and all the rules I make are much loved by all the people there, even though I don't let them out. Now, that's why would I be mean like that? That's not the way Milleronia is. Some days, if people, forget to do things, or if, something gets wrong with the power, or if my weather people don't make the weather exactly as I have told them, I can get a little testy. But not now, not on such a gorgeous day back on the mainland here at stately Miller Manor. And, as always, I know I've said this before, but that music makes me so happy. It just gets me set up to, have a great time, do a great show, and Colonel Jeff, too. That's, of course, the Neil Peart Orchestra and the Leslie Ann Warren Dancers, featuring boy tenor Brad Simpson asking the musical question, are there any houses built in the 1960s that still have basement fallout shelters? And if so, have all the fallout shelters been turned into man caves? Well, once again, Brad, that's a heck of a question. You know what? Yes. Are there any houses built in the 60s that still have basement fallout shelters? I bet they do. I bet there are. And that was a time, when in the 50s, I guess, and certainly in the early 60s, people were doing that. Not a zillion people, but that was something people were thinking about a lot. And would that have helped people in case, God forbid, of a nuclear attack? Well, I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. So he's got a place here made of some concrete lined with some boards or wood paneling. And you got, some cots in there built into the walls for the family. And I guess some jars and cans of things. What kind of things? I don't know. You let me know if you know, but I'm guessing things that you can normally get in jars and cans, prunes and sardines. I don't know. The kind of food that makes you want to get out of that shelter really fast. You don't even care about a nuclear attack anymore. You have enough prunes, and I'll tell you what, you're ready to say, you know what? Come on, Russia, just do your worst. So yes, I'll bet there are tons of fallout shelters. I wouldn't know how many. It wouldn't be 1 million. It wouldn't be 10,000, I don't think. That's just my guess. But I'll bet there are out there 2,930. I'll bet there are a bunch of them out there all across our country. And if there's no need to worry about, nuclear attack again, and why not turn it into a man cave? Come on. And so you can use that thing where you pull a lever that would normally fire the missile, but you can turn it into something that just sends a tray of beers out. Why not? And then it's been turned into a man cave. Now, would any of the men out there turn it into the kind of cave where it wasn't just beer and it wasn't just chips and dip and it wasn't just a great screen to watch a ball game? Would any of the fellas out there also say, okay, like at halftime, instead of watching someone you really don't like sing, you could just have dancing. You could have dancers come out. Would they be women? Well, why not? But they have been turned into man caves, I'll bet. A bunch of them. Sounds like a good place to do it, too. And you and your friends, every 10 minutes, when you're watching the game, can just look around you in that thing and kind of go, whew, boy, glad we don't have anything else in here. And it's worth saying now, adieu and farewell to Neil Peart. He was the drummer for Rush. And as Colonel Jeff was saying, he was a great drummer, too. Colonel Jeff said to me, he was right up there with Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and was just, paving the road for all those fellas. And so it's worth saying that to him. By the way, I want to mention to you that I think I've touched on this before, but I think Ringo Starr was one of the greatest drummers ever, and he's not given the due he's due. But I think he is, and I think, boy, that guy was solid as a rock and fun and creative, but he was the backbone of the background there. And anyway, a tip of the hat to you, Neil. And I mentioned Leslie Ann Warren. Now, she's fine, thank God. Nothing's happened to her. And a great actress for so many years and still is, and a gorgeous American woman, good Lord. But Brad Simpson mentioned her too. And by way of saying, oh, come on. And Colonel Jeff looked at me, and I looked at him, and we both said, he's right. Those are the exact right words. What a talent she is, and what a great actress. And yeah, holy mackerel, just gorgeous. And so you know what? It's time to say, oh, come on. You know what? Leslie Ann, you get a tip of the hat, and, we might just blow a kiss to you. And, in fact, we are. So good luck, stay well, and keep being Leslie Ann. And by PayPal. That's right. Still, one of the companies that supports us, and we just love them. I love these guys. And, PayPal, boy, it's the kind of place where if you work with them, you feel like you're saving the world. And who knows, maybe you are. So if you want to, if you really like the show here and you really like the Larry Miller Show, and why wouldn't you? And you feel like sending us some money to help out, and why wouldn't you? You know what? Go to PayPal. And yes, you can get there, 100 different ways on your laptop or your iPhone or anything at all. But don't bother. We'll get you there. You come to us. Go to our website, LarryMillerPodcast.com. Who's on the mountain? Tom Mix. Da, 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 da. That's a good one. I like that one that you did there, that Colonel Jeff does these things. For a second there, by the way, I don't think I've ever said this before, but it sounded like, because that's my voice, it sounded like I just recorded that on the toilet. I don't know why I would want to say that, but it just da-da-da-da-da-da. And then you just say, okay, close the door, I'll be out in a minute. Anyway, we'll get you there. Go to our website. And we've got a banner right there that says PayPal on it. And click our banner, we'll get you there. Click our banner, go into the den and lie down on your lazy boy chair, one of the good ones, the soft ones. And they're not a sponsor, remember. I just think they make great stuff. And, boy, yeah, rock that thing back, put a magazine over your face, and go to sleep. We'll get you to PayPal. And we're glad they're there. Which brings me to my favorite part of the show, the joke of the week. I know I've said this before, but there's nothing better than keeping a good joke alive. It's like great music, classical or otherwise. Don't just leave it on a shelf somewhere in a library. take it down and play it. Get somebody who plays the French horn and one of your other friends who plays the viola and play something nice. And this is a good joke, too. There's an 85-year-old married couple. They've been married for 60 years, and they're still going strong. They love each other and have a good time together and a lot of laughs. And his wife has been really helping them because the last, 10 years, she's been doing all sorts of things to give them a better diet, and so the two of them can have better food and stay healthy. And she's been working out, and she gets them both. They walk together, jog a little bit, do a couple of sit-ups, and but sure enough, as life goes, things happen, and they're in a car accident, which wasn't their fault, but it killed them. They die and they go to heaven. And you know what? Sure enough, at the gates of heaven, they're met by St. Peter, who says, "Hi, folks, come on in, welcome," with a big smile, and says, "Come on, let me show you around. First of all, let me show you where you'll be living." And he takes them to a place that's just fabulous. I mean, it's a mansion. It's a mansion on really nice land that's beautifully manicured, and the couple look at each other. They don't know well, and he takes them inside. Folks, this place has everything. Beautiful bedrooms, great furniture, and a beautiful, nice kitchen and kitchenette and big dining table and breakfast tables and everything, and all sorts of music available. It's wonderful. And the husband says to St. Peter, I got to be honest, this is very nice and all, but how much does this cost? I don't know if we can afford it. And St. Peter says, "Just stop it right there. Nothing. Remember, this is heaven. Everything's free. So don't worry about it. This is your home. Enjoy it." And they smile at each other, and then he says, "Come on now, let me show you. They'll take you out to the golf course, too." And he does. The couple look at each other, they follow him, and it's just a fabulous golf course. And 18 holes, and the weather is perfect. And now the wife says, "Now, excuse me, I have to say the same thing. What are the green fees here? Or what will this?" And St. Peter again, "Stop it. I'm telling you, you're not listening to me. This is heaven. Everything's free. In fact, this course is yours. Invite anyone you like or don't invite anyone. Do with it what you want." And St. Peter says to them, "Come on now, let's go get a bite. I'll show you where you'll be eating." Where we'll be eating? He takes them, folks, to a 5-star restaurant that's also all theirs. It belongs to them, and they go inside. Folks, it has everything, and it has the most beautiful foods, the best foods, any kind of food you want, any nationality, any ethnic variety you want that you can name. And he says, again, the guy to St. Peter, boy, this is just, I'm frankly thunderstruck here that, if a good restaurant like this, won't we have to, are we going to put on, St. Peter again says, stop it, and this is the last time I'm going to tell you. This all belongs to you, and just to throw in something, because it's here in heaven, you don't put on weight. You don't really you'll never need to take anything off. You can ask for anything you want, and it's fast and delicious. The best food you've ever eaten. And suddenly St. Peter notices the husband's getting mad now, and his teeth are gritting, and he says, and he's puzzled. What's wrong here? And the guy's wife says to him, What are you doing? Why are you so angry?" And he says, "This is all your fault. If it wasn't for all your diets and workouts, we could have been here 10 years earlier." I hope you like that. Well, that's a good joke, folks. And as always, once again, if you like it, keep it going. Pass it along. Tell a friend. Tell someone in your family. And because as I've said, and as I love saying, nothing better than keeping a good joke alive. And that brings me to my second favorite part of the show, the Poetry Corner. love that string quartet. And it's perfect because I'm going to read you a poem now by the great Robert Frost. And one of my favorite fellas and that we've made as a country and as a culture. By golly. And this is a poem of his called Sand Dunes. Sea waves are green and wet, but up from where they die rise others vaster yet, and those are brown and dry. They are the sea-made land to come at the fisher town and bury in solid sand the men she could not drown. She may know cove and cape, but she does not know mankind. If by any change of shape she hopes to cut off mind, men left her a ship to sink. They can leave her a hut as well, and be but more free to think for the one more cast-off shell. Isn't that lovely? Boy, that fella, Robert Frost, I'm glad he was here. And I'm glad he was with us today. And that brings me to my third favorite part of the show, M, the Magic Movie Moment. This is a great picture, and it's been a while since I've seen it, and I hope you like it too. Ben-Hur from 1959. There were other Ben-Hurs. There was one from the silent era. But boy, oh boy, I don't know how you can ever beat this one. Written by Lew Wallace, that's the novel, and Carl Tunberg wrote the screenplay. Now starring, get this, and directed by William Wyler, the great William Wyler, starring Charlton Heston, Stephen Boyd, Martha Scott, and Jack Hawkins, Sam Jaffe, Hugh Griffith, Haya Hararit. And you know what? It's just a great movie. Good Lord. Ben-Hur. And there's only one scene. There's many, many places that are magical to me. But in Ben-Hur, the most magical thing to me is, well, that chariot scene, that great chariot scene. As I said to Colonel Jeff, boy, we just have to do that, don't we? Have to talk about that, to have to say, get a look at this. Well, there are a lot of points in the plot that lead Charlton Heston as Judah Ben-Hur to that arena. They call it the circus, because every year there is, well, that chariot race, and he's going to be competing against, well, his oldest friend from childhood, whose name is Masala, and that's played by Stephen Boyd, and they were very close friends. But Boyd has become, he was a Roman, and he's a tribune, and he's growing in height, in office there in the Roman Empire, and that's what he wants, and that's what he likes. And you realize very quickly, this is not a nice man. This man will do whatever he can to get wherever he wants. And he's a mean guy, and in fact, he's vicious, and he doesn't care the tiniest bit about anyone. The thought of, well, weren't you friends? Don't you care for him? Didn't you used to care for his family, for his mother and sister? No. The answer is no. And they're getting ready now for this chariot race. Folks, it's 10 laps. I think it's 10, could be 12, but I just watched it again with the Colonel here on one of those internet things where they'll show, here's the chariot race from Ben-Hur. And they start, and by the way, I told this to the Colonel, we smiled at it. This is good old movie making, because they each have 4 horses, powerful, well-trained horses. And Charlton Heston's horses, as Judah Ben-Hur, are 4 white horses, and Stephen Boyd's are 4 black ones. In case you forgot who's good and who's bad. But anyway, they start this race, and Boyd will kill anyone. He just takes down with several of the other folks who've come from foreign lands to this race. But Masala doesn't care. He'll take them all down. He'll kill them all so he can win again. He's won 4 in a row. That's 4 years in a row. They do it once a year. And here he comes, and he's right up against Ben-Hur. And they're going, Ben-Hur is on the inside of the track of the laps there. And Boyd, Masala is, he's doing everything. He looks at him, and he's got blades on his wheels to just chop up your blades. And he's a rotten guy. And he keeps pulling his horses over to try and smash Ben-Hur into the wall and over a certain chariot that's been overturned, and he flips up Ben-Hur. He just flips high into the air on his chariot, and bang, he lands again and has to climb back into his chariot where it's still, they're going 40 miles an hour, and they go around and again, and sure, then he starts, Boyd whips him. He's whipping his horses, and then he turns to Ben-Hur and starts reaching over and whips him. Bang, 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 bang. And Ben-Hur then has to reach out. It takes a couple of tries, and then he gets a hold of the whip with his hand and pulls it in, and then winds it around his hand and pulls it, and finally gets it away from Masala. And then, folks, oh, brother, he gets it so that Masala and his chariot, you really crash into Ben-Hur's, and over he goes. And this horrible guy, Masala, the Roman legionnaire and the tribune, it just flips out, and now he doesn't even have a chariot. He's holding on to the reins of his 4 horses who are pulling him at top speed across the ground, across the arena, what they used to call blood and sand. And you know what he does? He gets there, and he's dragging along Masala along the ground, and sure enough, the other chariots come up, and even though they're trying to pull back, they don't want to kill him, but they do. They have to. They don't kill him fully, but they run right over him. Their horses stomp him into the ground, and their chariots, and they just crush him and rake him. And he, rolls over, and he's just, crushed and raked. And that's the exact moment when Judah Ben-Hur wins. And the place goes crazy. They love him so much. And people pour out of the stands and run after him. And there's Masala in the dirt. And a couple of the fellas with a stretcher come and just kind of plop him on it. And the movie goes on. It goes on and on and on. And Ben-Hur accepts his award from the big Roman mucky muck there who's in the stands. Whew. And there's so much more of the drama of this movie to go. And folks, it's a great movie. See that. That chariot scene is one of the great things that has ever been shot in Hollywood. And wonderful actors, and including Stephen Boyd. He was a great actor. I hope he's still well, but especially after that chariot race. But oh, Lord, Martha Scott, as I said, Jack Hawkins, and Sam Jaffe, Hugh Griffith, Haya Hararit, and I'm awfully glad. If you haven't seen it, see it. And directed by William Wyler. If you've seen it, like me, another couple of dozen times, see it again. That's what I'm going to do. That's what Colonel Jeff is going to do. Maybe we'll watch that together. And you know what, folks? I'll be glad for it. I said in the beginning, hey, have you ever wanted to run for office? Because I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, about who's run for office. Who's ever put themselves on the line like that? Who's ever really said, I will take a step, I will stand tall, and I will run and win whatever the thing is that I'm running for? And you know what? I think that's a good thing to talk about. But, then it dawned on me after that show, hey, wait a minute. I remembered I've run for office. I have done that. I have stood up and stood tall. Well, not necessarily for these things, but you know what? The answer, have you ever run for something? I did. I ran for Fall Festival Queen in my high school. That's right, by the way, you heard right. The word queen is in there. And this was going into senior year. Once a year, we had a contest coming up to the big homecoming football game. And so for the first couple of months of the year, really nice girls you went to school with. And they were nominated. Folks would vote for them just to be nominated. And there were 5 or 6 young women running for this. Boy, they were so pretty, too, and everyone liked them. To run, and by the way, there's going to be an election. The student body would vote for this. Who would be Fall Festival Queen? And going into my senior year, it suddenly dawned on me, well, why not me? Now, I'm not so much of a rebel, but I thought, well, why not? That kind of sounds kind of funny if I just run for Fall Festival Queen. And who knows, maybe, I have a lot of friends there. Maybe I'll win. Why not? And a friend of mine took a picture of me because all the really pretty women, the girls there were so pretty. And they all got pictures taken, portrait pictures. Those things were pretty big, about 2 or 3 feet high and about 2 feet wide. Really nice pictures, too. And then with a border, a cardboard border, and they were in, fancy dresses, kind of a ball gown, and maybe a string of pearls, which may not sound like much, but it was for us. This was our high school, South High School in Valley Stream, New York. And, well, for one of the girls there, it was nice to put on a nice dress and a necklace of something or other and a big smile because they were so happy to be running. And I think they also, come to think of it, I think they also got to wear crowns for the picture. Not winning crowns, not like the Queen's crown, but something like a tiara. And it was really nice. And my picture was a little different. First of all, I took my shirt off. Let's see, it was from roughly the middle of the chest up. And I had, I wore a patch on one of my eyes and blacked out one of my teeth. Sort of looked like a pirate. And, an earring. One of those, in fact, my mom gave me an earring. Where else are you going to go? You going to ask your father? And she gave me one of those things. You didn't have to poke a hole in your ear, but it would kind of clip on. So once again, you could look tough or silly or whatever. And I think I had something on my head, or like a pirate's kerchief, I guess you'd call it. And my picture, they were nice enough, the school folks were nice enough to hang my picture in South Hall, which was where we all ate, and for all meals. It was the lunchroom. It was pretty big, and they hung my picture with all the beautiful girls. And I thought that was pretty nice. And I was in the election. And won't come as a giant shock. I didn't win. I did not win. And initially, and one of my friends, that's right, I think it was Bobby Davidson, said that, you know what, I'll bet they just didn't count your votes. And I said, take it easy, take it easy. You know what? We had fun doing this and we did a good job. And that's fine. And I smiled at him and he smiled at me. But when I got home, I thought, they didn't count my votes. But no, of course they did. It doesn't matter. It was wonderful. And that's something I ran for. I ran for Fall Festival Queen, and I did it by all the rules. And they were nice enough to include me on the ballot and hang my photo taken, big photo. And you know what? That wasn't it. I realized, wait a minute, I also ran for student council. And I didn't win the first election. This was a 6-year school, grades 7 through 12. And what I also remember about it was you got to make your own posters for your election to advertise yourself, and you could put them all over the school if you wanted. It was a big piece of oak tag you could use, and then magic markers. And I remember my slogan was, "Don't just smoke an L&M, vote for one." Which I thought was pretty good. And so did my folks, by the way. That was also the days where no one said, "Wait a minute, that's a cigarette." But I didn't win that election. I won another election. And also, by the way, I started a demonstration because at the local movie theater in a big shopping mall, and this was standing on its own, so it wasn't part of the mall. This is the Green Acres Shopping Center. And we loved it there. We went there all the time as kids and went there with my folks and my sister a bunch of times too. But here's the thing. When we were 12 or 13, well, we were jumped up. That is, they began to charge us the adult rate for the movie. And it wouldn't sound like much today. I mean, it was, I think, $1 for adults and 50 cents for kids. But they charged us for the adult rate, but still made us sit in the kids section. And we didn't like that at all. I think it's a natural part of life where you say, "Oh, but you're 12 or 13 years old, and you don't want to have to sit next to, kids, right in the middle of kids who are just, eating candies and getting goo all over themselves and laughing with each other. And I mean, good luck. God bless them. They're having a good time. But we didn't want to do that. So I and a couple of my friends went to the manager of the theater, and we told them what we thought. We said to him, we don't think this is right, that we have to pay adult rates now, and we still have to sit with the kids. Why don't you let us sit in the adult section? We don't have candies, and we're not going to scream and yell, and, we're not going to be making out with our girlfriends in the balcony. I never did that, by the way. I always thought, wow, that's so cool. I mean, that whole thought, you can go up to the balcony and make out? That's just wild. That's one of those things where you say, I bet James Bond did that. And so at any rate, you know what? It dawned on me, I ran for a bunch of things. And I made a poster up for that on ditto paper. I said, let's have a demonstration, because they wouldn't give it to us. The manager wouldn't just say, okay, you can sit with the adults. So I, at school, as I said, we got a piece of ditto paper form, and I made an ad for a demonstration. Those are only 8.5 by 11, so I just made one. You do it by hand. I used a Bic pen and really wrote a bunch of things on it very neatly, but probably too many words, about, hey, and then this happened, and then that happened, and we didn't like it. But you know what? Why the heck not? And we picked a weekend day, a Saturday afternoon, for the demonstration at the theater on a nice day. And we had signs too, not like big union demonstration signs on a piece of wood, but these were just things you could hold. And we marched around in an oval in front of the theater, all 11 of us. There wasn't really many folks. I remember I hung the poster on the Mr. Brabazon's bulletin board in science class. And, that was about it. Wasn't even 11, come to think of it. I think it was maybe 8 or 9 of us. And we didn't get that either. Nobody came out and said, you know what? We see the point, and you can sit with the adults. And in fact, nobody came out at all. And then so we just walked home. We were kids, we were, 12 or 13, as I said. But you know what? In just a month or two, we did. They changed the rule, and now kids in our group could sit with the adults in the adult section. And that was kind of a victory. I thought, how do you like that? We did it. All 9 of us did it. But that's the way it should be, folks. Run for something. Why not? We did. And win something. Why not? Or lose. Why not? Who cares? You know what? Stand up and step forward. Why the heck not? I know that. And you know it. We know the same things. Homer is Homer, and Pluto is a planet. So remember, folks, as always, if you walked out of bed today and had a job to go to and a home to come back to and someone there who cares about you, folks, the game's over and you've won. So just be well. Sure, run for office, make a demonstration. We'll see you here next time.